You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are The Breakfast Club. We got some special guests in the building. We have Natalie and Derrica Wilson. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Y'all, let me move this.
What's happening?
Hey, good morning.
How are y'all?
Now, you ladies have started this Black and Missing Foundation.
Yes.
All right, and you're sisters-in-law.
Yes.
So let's explain your background and how you know each other, and then we'll get to the organization.
Okay. Well, Derrica is married to my brother.
The luckiest man in the world.
And we started the organization. Basically, we were inspired by a young lady by the name of Tamika Houston who went missing from Spartanburg, South Carolina. And that's Derrica's hometown.
Oh, where are you from, South Carolina? Me too.
Yes.
Okay. You
Spartanburg.
upstate, though.
Yes.
I'm low country.
Okay. But still, look, the dirty side.
That's it.
Too?
No.
No, upstate's not good.
You don't even know what that means.
It's a low country.
I don't know.
Charleston, look.
Yep.
Right. So, we read that her family really struggled to get any type of media coverage for her, and beautiful young lady. And, they really struggled. And a year later, Natalie Holloway went missing. We all know who she is.
In Aruba.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I remember that story.
So Derrica and I decided to join professions. She's an ex-cop. I'm in media relations. And those are the two critical components or professions needed to find our missings. That's what's inspired us. Now, what has motivated us is that so many families reach out to us. They don't know what to do. Our people are missing at an alarming rate. Since we have been in existence, 2.1 million people of color have been reported missing, but you don't hear it in the news.
No, why?
Hey, we never know when it's real or not. Like, I remember in D.C. when they said it was all those missing girls, and they said that wasn't true. Like, some of them were just runaways who came back home. Like, what was the real story?
So we have been sounding the alarm. It was 10 years yesterday, and we do have a lot of young folks that are going missing for a variety of reasons, whether it's human trafficking, mental health, domestic violence. And so what happened was, first of all, we commend MPD for, shining a spotlight on the issue. We have those kids going missing at an alarming rate in the district. And so where some of them may have been runaways, we know that predators are targeting these kids on the streets. And so they decided to start utilizing their platform to put all of these missing faces. It didn't matter what the circumstances of their disappearance. And because the way they went about doing it without really, notifying the community and the media about their tactics, it was a firestorm.
I think a lot of times people don't necessarily know, like he said, because we always hear somebody's missing, or we always think, okay, maybe they just ran away.
I think
or
all
maybe
too
they just
often,
got mad.
often in the Black community, they assume first that they ran away before saying that this child is missing, but it doesn't happen like that. I feel like in the white community, if a child is missing, it's an alarm.
They
but
give
a
it
lot
more
of
press.
Nah, I think white kids run away. Because
Yeah, but I think
when
they
I saw the black
assume.
girls, I was like, immediately, I thought, what happened to them? Like, I didn't think that they would run away. And that's what they were saying. They were saying that it was people kidnapping them throughout D.C., but then you found out, like, no, some of them just ran away.
Some ran away, and some are victims of human trafficking. And like even yesterday, we spent our 10-year anniversary doing community service with Courtney's house, and this is a safe haven for kids that are going missing as it relates to human trafficking, and then they're being rescued. So this is happening. This is happening in our own backyard.
Right.
A lot of times people think this is happening abroad, but this is happening right here. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry in the United States.
You give me anxiety.
And if you're 14 years old and you run away and then you do get involved with sex trafficking, that's still a cause for alarm. You can't just say, well, she just ran away, so she didn't want to be there anyway. If you're a child and something awful happens to you, or you're coerced by somebody to leave your home, there's a lot of things that happen, I think, online.
Right.
As
and
well.
that's something that we need to be mindful of. Our kids are so savvy via social media. So we're asking parents, and I'm not sure if you all are parents, to create a fictitious account and see if you can friend your child on social media and see what they say to you. Do they give you where they're going to school, their information, their personal information? These kids think that they're so smart and they can outsmart the pedophiles, but they can't.
I got a 9-year-old daughter. I do you one better. I don't even let her use social media. Like, why? There's no need to introduce her to that world at all.
I completely understand that. I mean, I'm a mother myself, but one of the cases that we had, even in Maryland during this firestorm last year, is that this same mother in Baltimore, she didn't allow her daughter to utilize social media. In fact, her daughter didn't even have a cell phone, but when she went to school, she used one of her friend's cell phone, and she was lured in an app. And she
Yikes.
was abducted, and she was trafficked from Baltimore to Prince George's County, Maryland. And the same young lady that went missing is not the one that came home.
You know the crazy part?
What?
She's different.
She's
Oh,
demented.
okay.
You don't,
Okay,
yes,
you.
you don't know
Got you.
what they have experienced while they were out there. And so, she's in counseling. There's a lot of things that has occurred in her life ever since she went missing last February.
But you meant like they bought me back a whole nother child. I'm like, that's not mine.
She changed. But you know what I do with my kids? I have a 16, a 14, a 4, 3, and a 1. But what I do with them is I'm very open with them, meaning I'm on their Instagram. I have their Instagram and their accounts on my phone. And sometimes they are on my account. Like, I'm like, Madison, post this picture of me. Daddy's on a flight. And I do the same thing with them. Like, we are connected. I watch everything. I go through their DMs. I see when people try to holler, and we talk about it. But not only that, I wanted to ask, I thought about this. You can't chip your child?
I thought about that too, bro. I ain't
know
gonna
what?
lie. And remember back in the day, that used to be a bad thing. You be like, yo, that's the mark of the beast. I be thinking the same
you can't
thing,
chip your
man.
child. I mean, take the chip
People
out
is
when they're
chipping their
21 or something,
pets.
but you can't chip the chip.
Like, why wouldn't you put a little chip in your child? Word is born. I be thinking the same thing.
I don't think the same thing. Just little
You
chip
know what?
behind
I
that.
think we should do that right now. After this show, we should develop some sort of device and chip our
Absolutely.
children.
I'm serious.
But not only our children, our parents, our spouses.
No, you're right.
Because
I don't know about
That's
spouses.
why, like,
man.
my
I don't
daughter
know
got
about spouses.
Now that's a problem.
I don't know about
Now that's a
spouses, man.
problem.
my daughter got a
Okay.
cell phone, and I like for her to carry her cell phone with her everywhere because you got the locator on it, just in case.
I'm the same
Yes.
You know what I
way.
mean?
Right.
For kids listening and parents, what are some of the tactics that predators use to lure children away that we should be looking out for?
Well, one, they're grooming them, so they make them feel comfortable. They tell them that they're beautiful, or as when we were growing up, we had arguments with our parents, and they tell them, you know what, you don't have to listen to them. Come and see me, and you'll be fine. So they're grooming them to get them comfortable, and that's how they lure them.
I really think that so often people look at what they see on television, that it's a white van pulling up and they're just snatching and grabbing the kids. And just to reiterate what Natalie said, yes, they are grooming. They don't come in for the kill right away. It's a process. 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. They're buying them gifts. They're, building up their confidence. And then after so long of, that grooming, they're like, okay, I've done this for you. So now what are you going to do for me?
What age are we talking?
Oh, 12.
Oh,
and up.
my goodness.
And it's not just our girls, our boys as well. When we first started the organization, there were more missing young men of color than women. So we have to be mindful of our young men.
Any truth? It's gonna sound crazy because I watch a lot of World Star conspiracy theories and YouTube videos. Listen to a lot of Dick Gregory. Do you think that they are stealing black people to harvest their organs?
That comes up on our social media feed often. And there have been cases where there have been young black and brown people that went missing and their organs were missing. And so, of course, that comes up. We don't have any statistics on that, but I can't definitely rule that out. I think about the movie Get Out. And when you think about that movie in the context, I mean, essentially that's what's going on.
100%.
Have you guys been following closely this whole R. Kelly situation with some of the parents saying they haven't seen these young girls,
It's at least 50
their
missing
daughters
girls at his house right
in
now.
years, and he's saying that they're there on their own free will and they're of age, so that should be fine. But the parents are feeling like there's some type of some brainwashing going on. What do you think about that?
And again, that's part of the grooming process. But they are adults, so they can't necessarily make them leave. But
and I'll go back to the R. Kelly shortly, but I don't know if you all recall the story of Anthony Sowell in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yes.
This was a few years back, and there were 11 black women that were missing from that area. And those women, they were all found buried in and around his property. And so, when the families were going to the police department, they were turning them away because some of those families contacted our organization and they were getting responses like, oh, your loved one will return once the drugs wear off, or your loved one is involved in prostitution, not sensitive to these families at all. And so we as a community, we have to stand up and we have to report. If we see something, say something. these people are being brainwashed. These people are being coerced. But we also need law enforcement, and I'm a former cop myself, but we need for these cases to be taken seriously. I know Anthony Sowell was on probation, and of course they were sending officers out to check the property. There was a stench there. The community complained about it, but no one stopped to investigate, and that's what it
So they
was.
sent cops to the house. Cops went to the house and with the stench and still nothing.
Dead bodies are
Still nothing.
very distinctive. Like that's not just that's not trash.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I know firsthand.
So
Absolutely.
what do you do when someone would come to the police station and report a child missing? Because I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that it has to be 24 hours or more before they actually take any type of, do anything about it.
Well, a couple of things that we're seeing is that our children are classified as a runaway. And if you're classified as a runaway, you do not get the Amber Alert at all. And there's a myth that you must wait 24 hours. In many states or jurisdictions, if a child goes missing, you're to report them missing right away. So that's a myth.
So 17 and under, you report immediately. Over 18 and up, depending on, and it's important for the listeners to know the particular laws in their respective jurisdictions, because when it's an adult, you don't always have to wait 24 hours. For example, in Illinois, Washington, D.C., you can report your loved one missing immediately. But all those other jurisdictions for 18 and over, it's 24 hours. So when we're watching those crime shows, what is it? CSI and all of those different shows, and they're saying 48 hours to 72 hours, that is definitely a myth.
Now, let me ask you a question. With police officers, are there key words that make police come faster? Like, for instance, if I say somebody's in my house, I think somebody's in my house. Or if I say somebody's in my house with a gun, does that make them react faster? Is there any truth to that? It sends a sense of urgency depending on how you say or what the circumstances are. So even for our missing cases, and I'll use an example of a father that we reunited with his boys that were missing for 2 years. He kept going to the police station, and he wasn't, there was no sense of urgency. He kept saying, my children's mother has the boys. And, you're telling that to law enforcement. They're like, okay. But what he was not really articulating is it's a parental abduction. He was the custodial parent. The judge granted that. And so obviously the judge found that the mother was unfit. And so there's, of course, anytime a judge finds that the mother is unfit, it's serious.
It's serious. And so the case needed to be taken seriously. So once he was able to relay that appropriately, it sent a sense of urgency, and we were able to help him get his boys back.
How can the community help locate missing kids?
Well, we are on social media, and we need our community to follow us. If they go to bamfi.org, we are on Instagram, Twitter, we're on Facebook, and we send out alerts many times a day. We believe that someone knows something. It could be your loved one that's missing, and all we need is one tip, one person to help find our missing.
I would think social media. I'm sorry.
And I was just going to piggyback on what Natalie said. We can't always wait on the 5 and 10 o'clock news cycle. For example, we hopped on a train today, and we were here in less than 3 hours. And so I think people need to get out of the mindset that, if you're missing from D.C., that you're still in D.C., and by the time the news come on, they're looking in D.C. We need to get the stories out there, which is why we utilize our social media platform, because, that child or that loved one can be in Boston, it can be in New York, they can be anywhere. So we have to be able to spread the word immediately.
I would think social media would make it like so easier to find kids and harder for people to abduct kids, because it's like being out with your side chick. Like, that's one reason people don't cheat no more, because they know cameras are constantly rolling all the time.
But if you think about it, we get all these all the time in our DMs and our Twitter. When's the last time you looked at one?
What do you mean?
A kid missing. A missing kid.
Can you please
I don't
post
get them.
this?
No, you probably just
We'll
start
when-
sending them to you.
Missing grandfather, missing grandmother.
I get Amber
missing
Alerts on my
boyfriend.
phone.
Do you even look?
That's it.
But
Do you
you
even
gotta
look when you
review-
get that Amber Alert?
But you got to remember,
I don't.
our children are not getting the Amber
Yeah,
Alert
those are
because
the
they're being
police.
classified as runaways.
Oh,
And so
okay.
that's what I was saying earlier. So is it true, or is there any truth to the fact that when it's young brown children that are missing, they classify that more as a runaway than any other race? Or is it?
Yes, we've found that to be true. Even when our adults go missing, they're classified as being involved with some type of criminal activity. So you don't see us on the news because of that stereotype. And our kids are being classified as runaways. So people are saying, you know what, they left on their own, so who cares? But we have to care because now they could become a victim of sex trafficking.
Right.
Now, what about preventative? Like, how can we stop this from, or try to stop this from happening as parents out there? You know, you tell us what's happening if our kids are missing, but how can we stop this or make sure we can prevent some of this?
I think communication is the key. You know, we need to have that open dialogue with our children, and we need to be nosy. Stop being our children's friend and be their parent. And so we give our children all of these tools, the devices, technology, but we need to snoop and see what's going on. I mean, I commend you for being involved in your children as far as their social media.
No, I'm a snooper.
I am too.
They know I am too.
Yes, I am too. In
Can
fact,
we say what Envy actually does? He has their messages sent to his phone from.
and you know what? I
Hey,
agree.
listen, thanks, She.
Because I have the same thing with my son. My son's phone is all set up under my email account.
So all the texts come there, the emails
everything
come there?
comes.
Absolutely.
Everything comes
Why
to me
not?
because I want to know what's going on. I want to know what these conversations are like because if I need to intervene, I will. But I think, you know, just having those open dialogue with your children, you know, sitting at the table, having dinner, discussing, being a listener.
I think it a step forward. You know, even my son with the video games. I play my son's video games under his name to see who's calling, who's checking. I do all, but
Absolutely.
my dad's a retired police officer. He did it to me, so it kind of rubbed off. But I do that even if my son comes home with something new, whether it's a baseball hat, a baseball card. I know everything that's in the house. Where'd you get that from? Who gave you that? You traded what? Like, I want to know.
And I'm just you
Just me.
sharing this. I'm hoping that these listeners are taking all of that into consideration because you are doing absolutely the right things. And that's the things that we tell the parents to do with their children.
And be mindful, we all have a responsibility to help find our missing. So it's not just law enforcement, it's not just a community, but it's the media as well. And I applaud you guys and thank you for having us here
thanks
and
for coming.
for using your platform to bring awareness to our missing children.
I love that shirt too. Help us find us.
Yes.
Give us the email again to help out.
Okay, it's bamfi.org, and we need everyone to get involved to help us find us.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, guys.
Right,
Natalie,
and you keep on
thank you.
updating
Derrica
us. If
Wilson.
there's anything that you need us for, you know, always let us know so we can let our listeners know.
Will do.
Absolutely.
Thank
you so much.
All right. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.